Last video, I tried to beat Devil May Cry only using Ebony and Ivory, and while that may have ended in failure in literally the first mission, I decided to continue, but at a certain point my fingers couldn't spam X any longer, so I ended off last video on mission 12. This video is part 2, which will be mission 13 to 23, so if you haven't seen part 1, I suggest you watch it, even though there are a few audio issues. And as a quick reminder, I failed 8 times last time. But anyways, enough waffling, let's get back into it. Starting mission 13, I grabbed a blue orb and made my way downstairs, where I immediately encountered the next fail of this challenge. However, this one wasn't too bad, as to open this door you have to kill the enemies underwater, which you can only do with the needle gun. So while this is still a fail, it is the first fail where I can use a gun and not my sword, which isn't too bad considering this challenge is an adaptation of the gun only challenge. After clearing out the room, I head out of the ship and finish the mission with an S rank. Good, but this is the easiest mission in the game. I then purchase a purple orb and start mission 14. And this mission doesn't really have much to it, so I pretty much just ran past a few enemies till I made it to the end, where I got an A rank. From this point on, I didn't really have enough orbs to get any upgrades in the shop, as the upgrades were now very expensive. So I started mission 15. I was a little bit worried about this mission, as this is normally the mission I find the hardest. After running past some spiders, I head downstairs and kill the Scissors and Sides, making sure to replenish my double trigger afterwards. I then spent longer than I'd like to admit trying to make this jump, but I eventually got there and made my way back upstairs to go fight Griffin. And just like last time, Griffin was pretty easy. I'll just taunt, dodge his attacks, and spray him until he eventually died. So after Munda splits Griffin on timeout, Trish finally decides to come back, only to say 2 lines, then leave again. But sometimes I forget how bad the writing in this game can be. But anyways, moving on, I finished the mission with a B rank, unsurprisingly, and start mission 16, grabbing the blue orb at the start. I then completely forget to do the secret mission because I'm an idiot and head back to the castle, where I am once again met by my worst nightmare, more runes.
No! God! No! God, please, no! No!
So I used my sword again and continued on, killing the plasma in this room and then running past the one in the next room. I continued running past enemies until I reached the next of my nightmares. Get it? Because like the boss is named Nightmare.
Hello? That's not funny!
Anyways, all of Nightmare's fights can't be completed without using the runes, so there's another fail. However, I am just going to count this as one fail because the amount of times you have to activate the runes varies depending on a few things like what attack Nightmare does. Now Nightmare actually ended up being quite difficult, as the easiest way to attack him was to force out his back paw over and over again. But because I couldn't use Ifrit, I had to dodge the projectiles manually, while also trying to do as much damage as possible, which proved to be more difficult than I expected. As after 8 minutes of slowly getting his health down, I got lasered like one of Homelander's victims. Anyways, 4 minutes of replaying later, I had made my way back to where I was, and I was able to take out Nightmare after another 8-minute fight. And after failing to do some shitty platforming, I finished off the mission with a B rank. Now mission 17, just another mission, right? Wrong. This mission is now one of my least favourite missions. Wanna know why? These motherfuckers right here, I swear to God, the amount of time that I wasted trying to kill them, each time trying to find some sort of method to make it easier. But let me tell you, it was never going to be easy. Why? Because you can't even fucking kill them. I'm not lying to you when I say that I spent over an hour trying to kill these guys thinking that it was possible. You see, Ebony and Ivory do as much damage to these guys as Invincible did to Omni-Man. So okay, they're tanky, but they can be killed eventually, right? Wrong, they can't. And this is because even if you do enough damage, they just heal it right back in 2 seconds, so there's literally no way of beating these guys with Ebony and Ivory. So after wasting over an hour of my life trying to kill these guys, having to run back up the stairs each time I failed, I realized they couldn't be killed and used Ifrit. Meaning I was finally able to move on to the rest of mission 17. Wait a minute, what's that?
You serious?
Yep, that's right. The only way to deflect this is to use your sword, so there's another fail. Honestly, at this point I was just happy to play a different part of the game, so this didn't even bother me that much. Anyways, after finishing that room I went to go fight Nello, which was proving to be difficult, until of course I found a way to cheese him. Now I like to call this strat the timeout baby Nello strat. This strat involves you moving Nello to below this staircase and then sitting at the top and taunting to get DT. Now the strat was working quite well, until of course I found out it wasn't foolproof. So after replaying the mission again I made my way back, and this time successfully got the shit beat out of me. After restarting the mission for like the 50th time now, I made my way back to the fight, this time making sure to perfect my timeout baby Nello strat, by using the full staircase and standing in corners to make his AI get stuck. After almost 2 hours, mission 17 was done, and Virgil was sent back to the underworld where for some reason he doesn't show up again for another 20 years. I was just chilling there until he eventually decided to come back and rip his son's arm off and get revenge on Dante for literally saving him. To be honest, I still don't really like what they did with Virgil's character in that game. I mean, they literally got rid of his entire arc from DMC3, but oh well. Anyways, I ended off mission 17 with a C rank and started mission 18. But would you look at that, more first person underwater segments. Seriously, why are these in the game? And just like last time, you have to kill the enemies in this room with the needle gun, so there's a fail. Then in the next room is a rune, so there's another fail. And just to top it all off, you then have to fight Nightmare again, so there's another fail. Now Nightmare was pretty much the same as last time, just with more health. However, it was a very close fight. After ending the mission with a B rank, it was now time for mission 19, another mission I now hate. You see, in mission 19 you were introduced to the nobodies and you have to fight 3 in one room. Now I spent about 30 minutes trying to kill these guys and I could barely even get one to shrink. But once I did, he immediately grew back in less than a minute, so I took this as they can heal, just like the frosts. However, I would later learn that this isn't the case, so I did end up using my sword here, but just like the last video, I'm not going to count this as it is possible. After killing them and failing to do some more terrible platforming, I finished off the mission with an A rank and started mission 20, only to be met by more fails. So pretty much both these doors need your sword to open them, so that's 2 more fails. But at least I get to fight Nightmare again, yay! And you know how this goes, Nightmare was once again the same, but I did end up dying twice, mostly because of his second phase, which requires a lot more dodging. So after 30 minutes I finished off the mission with a C rank and finally had enough to get one last blue orb. Now starting mission 21, I was met by another fail right from the start, as the only way to activate this is to use your sword, so like always I did. But then 30 seconds later I was met by another fail, so I used my sword again, and continued on my way. Now it was here that I found out you can kill nobodies with Ebony and Ivory, so I made my way through killing the 3 along the way, until I came across another door. And then once again, of course, encountered 2 more runes in this room needed to progress, and at this point I was just getting tired of these, so I activated them and made my way to the top. And at the top I was of course met by another door. And then a rune right after. I swear, like 70% of the fails in this run have got to be from runes. Anyways, I finished off the mission with another C rank and headed into the second last mission. And after watching Trish get one shot by Mundus, Dante decides to lock in and turns on God mode, which then starts the best boss fight in the game, which tests all your skills which you have acquired so far, right? Yeah, no. Instead we get this annoying ass rail shooter section. God, I hate this part. So after doing this bullshit, I moved into phase 2, where you can use Ebony and Ivory, but because they do like no damage and I was just lazy and done at this point, I used the fireballs that replace them when you have DT. But I still ended up dying, as I was low from phase 1. So instead of doing that bullshit again, I decided I was going to bend rule 6 a bit, and use yellow orbs here. And if you have ever played this boss fight, you'll understand why. I ended up dying another 3 times before I restarted the mission, redoing phase 1. Now that I look back at it, I'm not really sure why I did this, but oh well. I then ended up dying to phase 2 another 2 times before I restarted the mission again, where I died one more time before beating him. In the end, I ended up dying to Mundus 7 times before I beat him and watching the best cutscene of all time.
I should have been the one to fill your dark soul with light!
Anyways, I then ended off the mission with a B rank and headed into the final mission. Surely there can't be any more fails, right? But of course there were. After taking out the nobodies in this room, you have to open the door, so there's another fail. But from there on, it was smooth sailing. Hillman just decided he wasn't dead and brought Dante down to the sewers. Now once again I was a little bit worried about this part, as I knew there was a timer here, but I managed to kill him before it ended, and now it's time for the iconic line.
It looks like we have a winner.
Jackpot.
And then because the riders got lazy, we flew out of the place with a plane, ending mission 23, where I got an A rank. So, can you beat Devil May Cry only using Ebony and Ivory? No, of course not. I mean, we literally failed on the first mission. However, the lowest amount of fails required to beat the game is 26, which is way more than I originally thought. Anyways guys, if you enjoyed the video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe for more challenge videos. This is obviously my first time doing this sort of video, so there's definitely a few things I still need to learn, but I hope you guys enjoyed, and once again shout out to Waifu, Zero, and Dante Ravioli. The links will be in the description. And I'll see you guys next time, where I'll be trying to beat separate ways only using the shotgun.